very much.
Today on Rappler.
Be outstanding for the honesty, integrity, and commitment to the common good.
Pope Francis talks about corruption to top political leaders in his first speech in the Philippines. Did the Charlie Hebdo massacre revive the Qaeda-ISIS rivalry? And Google says goodbye to glass. Hello and welcome. I'm Maria Ressa. We're coming to you from the Quirino Grandstand, where Pope Francis will hold the final Mass of his 5-day visit to the Philippines. This is Rappler's wRap for Day 2, a list of the most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. Pope Francis, as a head of state for the Vatican, meets President Aquino in Malakanyang Palace. In his first speech in the Philippines, Pope Francis talks about corruption to the nation's political leaders, some of whom are also facing corruption charges.
As many voices in your nation have pointed out, it is now more than ever necessary that political leaders be outstanding for the honesty, integrity, and commitment to the common good.
Earlier, President Benigno Aquino criticizes the silence of the church during the administration of former President Gloria Arroyo. He adds some members of the clergy seem to find fault in all he does, but says the Pope restores his faith.
Some members of the clergy now seem to think that the way to be true to the faith means finding something to criticize, even to the extent that one prelate admonished me to do something about my hair, as if it were a mortal sin.
Natasha Gutierrez reports on the Pope's visit to Malakanyang as the Vatican's head of state.
A different side of the Pope. This is what government officials see when Pope Francis comes to Malakanyang as head of state of the Vatican. Pope Francis arrives in a black Volkswagen Touran and is greeted by President Benigno Aquino III. Every single member of Aquino's cabinet is also present to welcome the Pope, as well as church officials. The welcome ceremony is significantly more grand than others compared to those accorded to the likes of U.S. President Barack Obama. The Pope is scheduled to walk around Kalayaan grounds where government workers wave Philippine and Vatican flags. But the Pope does not walk the whole scope of the red carpet as planned and heads straight to Malakanyang. Along the way, he blesses children. Inside, he has a one-on-one talk with the president before delivering a speech. Before government officials, church leaders, and the diplomatic corps, he makes a strong statement warning against corruption.
As many voices in your nation have pointed out, it is now more than ever necessary that political leaders be outstanding for the honesty, integrity, and commitment to the common good. Thus, will they be able to marshal the moral resources needed to face the demands of the present and to pass on to coming generations a society of authentic justice, solidarity, and peace.
He also hails the strength and cooperation showed by Filipinos after Typhoon Haiyan.
In a particular way, this visit is meant to express my closeness to our brothers and sisters who endured and suffering, loss, and devastation caused by Typhoon Yolanda. Together with many people throughout the world, I have admired the heroic strength, faith, and resilience demonstrated by so many Filipinos in the face of the natural disaster and so many others.
The Pope praises government efforts to bring peace to Mindanao as well and highlights the need to keep families together. As expected, the outspoken pontiff comments on state issues, taking on his role as diplomat. As with his leadership of the church, Pope Francis as head of state is just as effective and just as frank in communicating his ideal vision of society. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Manila.
From the diplomat, Pope Francis, with full pomp and circumstance, transforms into the leader of the Catholic Church at a Mass in Manila Cathedral. Speaking in English, the Argentinian Pope delivers his homily before priests, bishops, and religious leaders. He begins with a quote from the Bible in which Jesus asks Peter, "Do you love me?" To the eager Filipinos, it sounded like a question.
Do you love me? Then thank you very much. By becoming poor ourselves, by stripping away our complacency, will we be able to identify with the least of our brothers and sisters.
Then it was Pope as the leader of his flock, his theme of renewal, this time focused on the Filipino family. Thousands of families welcomed Pope Francis to the SM Mall of Asia Arena around 5:30 on Friday. Chosen delegates of the families talk about poverty, migration, and disability, and how they stayed through prayer. In a mix of Spanish and English, the Pope tells the families to be careful of, in his words, ideological colonization that tries to destroy families.
Cuando en una familia se pierde la capacidad de soñar, los chicos no crecen, el amor no crece, la vida se debilita y se apaga.
When you lose this capacity to dream, then you lose the capacity to love.
Primero de todo, soñar en una familia. No pierdan esta capacidad de soñar.
It is so important to dream, and to dream in the family. Please don't lose this ability to dream in this way.
Recuperar el amor a través de la ilusión de todos los días. Nunca dejen de ser novios.
Don't ever lose the illusion of when you were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Very important that.
Pope Francis is now the Philippines' social media darling. On Twitter, "Welcome to the Philippines, Pope Francis" becomes the #1 trending topic worldwide, with tweets, graphics, and video clips of his Zucchetto blown away, spreading like fire. Filipinos online call the Pope cute, huggable, and a child stuck in a Pope's body. Pope Francis, in his official Twitter account @Pontifex, tweets in Filipino, "Ang Pilipinas ay patunay ng kabataan at kasiglahan ng simbahan," or "The Philippines bears witness to the youthfulness and vitality of the Church." Filipinos online praise the Pope. Many zero in on his message of corruption when he says, "Reject all forms of corruption that diverts resources from the poor." Many react negatively when President Aquino criticizes the Church for its silence during the time of former President Gloria Arroyo. At Limbert QC says, ironically this morning, @Pontifex delivered a speech and @Noynoy Aquino gave a sermon. @Resident Rebel says, in the spirit of mercy and compassion, I'll just think of President Aquino's speech this morning as, quote, sorta inappropriate. On Saturday, Pope Francis flies to Leyte, a packed day in Tacloban, hard hit by Super Typhoon Haiyan, locally known as Yolanda. He leaves from Villamor Air Base at 8:15 in the morning. He will celebrate Mass near the Tacloban Airport at 10 a.m. and at 12:45 p.m. he'll have lunch with typhoon survivors at the Archbishop's residence in Palo, Leyte. At 3 p.m., he'll attend the blessing of the Pope Francis Center for the Poor, also in Palo. At 3:30, he will meet with families who survived Haiyan, as well as members of the clergy at the Palo Cathedral, before leaving for Manila at 5 p.m. Tropical storm Amang, internationally known as Mekhala, is expected to hit the neighboring province of Samar Saturday night, but State Weather Bureau Pagasa raises signal number 1, only signal number 1, on Leyte. For those on desktop, click on the links on your screen. You can also click on the tabs below to go to a story in the video. And for those on smartphones and tablets, the links can be found below the video. In other news, Hong Kong police arrest teenage pro-democracy leader Joshua Wong Friday. The 18-year-old Wong says he was held for 3 hours on charges of calling for, inciting, and participating in an unauthorized assembly. 3 other student leaders face similar charges. All have been released. Terrorism experts say the attack on French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo puts jihadist group Al-Qaeda back in the saddle in its rivalry with ISIS or the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for the Paris attacks both at Charlie Hebdo and a Jewish supermarket. ISIS is an Al-Qaeda offshoot and is largely responsible for major jihadist attacks in the past year. The United Nations say the Ebola crisis already passed the tipping point. UN Ebola coordinator David Nabarro says there's a chance the deadly outbreak could end quickly. Nabarro shows data from the World Health Organization where 3 of the hardest hit countries in West Africa, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, registered the lowest weekly tally of new cases in months. More than 8,400 people died since the Ebola outbreak began in Guinea in December 2013. Barely 7 months in office, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, or Jokowi, faces his first major political crisis. Jokowi's under fire for nominating Commander General Budi Gunawan as the next chief of the Indonesian National Police. Gunawan on Tuesday was accused of accepting bribes from 2003 to 2006. The move enraged anti-corruption activists and some loyal supporters, causing the hashtag #ShameOnYouJokowi to trend on Twitter Thursday. Google stops the sales of wearable device Glass. Internet-linked eyewear was on sale as part of an Explorer program retailing for $1,500 a piece. But Google adds the technology will be available in a future consumer product. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Looking at the mood navigator at the middle of the front page today, you can see that the story that's gotten the most number of votes in the last 24 hours is this one. Pope Francis's arrival in Manila. You have a whopping 74% inspired, bringing out the mood of the day. Today, most people are inspired. That is the wrap for today, Friday, January 16th, day 2 of Pope Francis's 5-day visit to the Philippines. Visit Rappler.com for the latest news here and around the world. Check out our other shows, Tech Wrap and Talk Thursday. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll continue to bring you updates of Pope Francis's visit to the Philippines. Follow the hashtag PopeFrancisPH. If there's anything you'd like the Pope to see, tweet photos with hashtag #ShowThePope. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.